I've been thinking a lot about the idea versus the execution. And this is something that you talk about. But we're writers. We tell people that we write, and everybody tells you an idea when they hear it, because everybody has an idea. And a lot of people, like, if they want you to help them with something, they want you to write something, they'll come up with an idea. And I think that there's this misconception that that the idea, coming up with the idea, is the hard part. You know, like, I feel like a lot of people feel like if I come up with a good idea, then like I've done a lot of the work for the writer, who now just has to like bring my brilliant idea to life.
Yeah.
And we tend to think that the execution's more important than the idea. Like, a good execution can turn a bad idea into a good script.
Yeah.
And the example I use is Speed, where anytime somebody says Speed's a terrible movie, what they say is like what the movie's about. It's like, oh, it's terrible, it's stupid, it's a bomb on a bus. It's like, yeah, it's a stupid idea. It's a great movie. Yeah. It's a really good script, really well written, extremely well executed, and largely probably because Joss Whedon wrote all the dialogue.
Yeah.
So they probably did have a bad script because it was a bad idea, and then they gave it to a good writer, and he made a great script out of it. So I had this idea for, I call it the horrible idea. Okay. And what I want to do is I want to pitch you an idea that is purposefully bad.
Yeah. Yeah.
and I want to see if we can make a watchable movie out of it. Can we make a watchable script out of it? The execution's more important than the idea.
Yeah.
I think we can prove that.
Okay.
Would you like to hear my horrible idea?
Oh, okay. So you have the horrible idea.
I have a horrible idea.
Yes.
I haven't told you what it is yet.
Right.
But it's not very much. It's not very well developed. But
yeah. Okay.
It's not supposed to be.
Hit me with it.
Okay, so we follow our protagonist. Mm-hmm. He is a musician. He is a jazz musician, a saxophone player.
Okay.
And I don't know if he's good at it or not. Doesn't matter. The Earth gets invaded by aliens. Zombie aliens. Zombie aliens. They're both aliens. Zombies and aliens.
How do they even figure out how to get to the Earth?
Doesn't matter. We'll figure it out. This is a bad idea.
Okay.
So zombie aliens invade.
Yeah.
And he somehow saves humanity with the power of his music.
With the saxophone, he saves.
With his saxophone,
the planet.
He saves the planet. That is my horrible idea.
What genre is it? Or am I allowed to just choose what genre it is? Or do I not even worry about that?
I think I give you the concept. It's a bad idea.
Yeah, then you just
we can do whatever we need to make it a good idea.
Yeah. Okay.
But I think it'd be more challenging if we make it like a serious sci-fi.
Yeah. Here's how I would start this thing.
Okay.
He's a jazz musician, but he's not very good. So what he is good at is playing like, for some reason he just has like a lot of like endurance, and he can play kind of like a melody over and over and over again. So he's almost in that like learning phase. Okay. Of playing the instrument.
Yeah.
So he kind of like he's got like a melody of like da 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 da, you know, da 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 da, you know, da 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 da, and then right. So like So he's out there trying to like kind of join like a band. Right. And he's trying to play like, okay, here's the like song we're playing, and he's playing along, but he's not great at it. He actually like struggles kind of improvising. He can't really read music either, so he's having difficulty with that. So he has all these issues, and they're basically like he keeps getting the axe from being in the bands. Yeah. Right. Okay. So he's a lovable loser who just cannot get a break.
Okay. Yes.
There's a couple ways we can go with the aliens. One way we can go is that like there is an intelligence, and they're sending the zombie aliens as their sort of like their militia force.
Okay. Yeah.
You know, this is their ground force that just kind of comes in, weeds things out, where now they can kind of get a sense of like how sophisticated are these creatures.
Right. Yeah. These are the expendable pawns that get sent out first.
Yeah.
All right.
So they're not too concerned. The second one is that that you almost take it like this is maybe some weird species of alien that, like, here would be the backstory that maybe you just never hear, or they can maybe discover it like on the ship at some point. But there's this species of alien that is basically like this. They're just like a humanoid species, but they're not very intelligent. They're very zombie-like. And they colonize their planet, but because they're so good-hearted, they just put them on spaceships and just ship them into space, and they accidentally now have crashed, got stuck in Earth's orbit and crashed into Earth's orbit, and now like their ship crashed, and now they're just flooding out of the ship. And this wasn't supposed to happen. They're just supposed to be like living on this spaceship that's supposed to be able to sustain them. But these aliens didn't want them on the planet that they're gonna inhabit it because they're dangerous and they're annoying,
Yeah. Okay. There is a third way that we could go about it.
Okay.
I like that one though. The third way is that there's a ship, or maybe like several ships full of like intelligent aliens.
Yeah.
And then they go through some kind of like radiation field. Similar to like what happened to in Night of the Living Dead.
Yeah.
Where it's like there's this radiation field that like has killed them, and then they've come back to life. So now these ships are like unmanned. Yeah. So they were intelligent, and they died in space, and now they're like zombies, and they're like crashing into Earth.
Okay. Yeah.
So like that's the third way that we could go about it.
That's pretty cool. There's a fourth way.
The
fourth way is these aliens didn't calculate properly, and they didn't realize the effect our gravity would have on them. And our gravity is actually slowing them down because it's heavier than it used to, and it's actually slowing their brain function down. And it's so they were intelligent and peaceful with good intentions, but now that they've come down to Earth, it's actually slowed down their frontal lobe, where the only thing left is like their lizard brain, and now all they want to do is kill us because they're aggressive. And without their frontal lobe like functioning properly, they can't override that thing that they're used to being able to override.
Yeah.
That's also another like interesting way of doing it.
Yeah. And we can actually make this horrible idea kind of interesting.
Yeah. And then, then comes the question of like, so how does the saxophone player play in to now he's got a saxophone?
That's the question, because the thing is that he's not just saving the planet or whatever, the town, whatever it is. Yeah. He's saving them with his saxophone.
Yes, he's got to be using the saxophone to... I mean, this is almost like a Pied Piper type story where he's actually using the saxophone and maybe like his little melody. His melody, for some reason, just like... it gives them better clarity, or like he can herd them.
if it's like similar to the sound that their ship makes.
Yeah.
Then like it could be like a Pied Piper thing where like he realizes like they're drawn to it, and so he's able to like kind of herd them back into their ship.
Yeah.
Just by using his melody.
Yeah. That's not bad. Yeah. Yeah, it's the saxophone. I mean, you could also have it where like these guys are just, let's just say they are just like a herd of just zombie aliens that have been like sent off of their planet, because they're annoying, and they crash into Earth, and now they're trying to eat and kill us.
They're annoying.
Yeah, now they try and eat and kill us. Then this guy's saxophone, he's hitting a certain melody or a certain note. Yeah. That ends up like either killing them or putting them to sleep or something like that. Yeah. But it's a hard note to hit, and even though he's not a great jazz saxophone player, he can hit this note, this really, really rare note to hit.
Yeah.
You know? And you can't just like produce like a speaker and play the note. Like the fact that it's coming out of like that brass saxophone is causing a certain frequency, a certain resonance frequency.
Yeah.
That if he hits it right, he actually can just like knock these guys out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or bring them back.
And there'll be this great scene where like his girlfriend has this, you know, he's like dating this girl, and they have this moment where she's like, "You're not going anywhere." You know, like you can't, why don't you just give up on like the saxophone and work at, you know, my dad offered you a job, you know, at Kinko's as manager at Kinko's. He's got the same job. He's got the same job as the Joker. He works with the Joker.
Yeah. He works with the Joker. Yeah.
And then there's this cool scene where like now the aliens are coming after her, just a horde of them. She's like in a corner, you know, and he comes in like no shirt on, of course.
Right. Yeah. No, you know, he comes in like that guy from the Lost Boys. He's just
the
oiled
saxophone
up.
player from the Lost Boys. Yeah, the saxophone player from the Lost Boys. That was such a great scene.
That could be the guy. His girlfriend's like, I found a real man, a real saxophone player, and it's him.
He never wears a shirt. Shirts are for losers. And then he just comes in, hits the note, and they all just drop, like, boom, you know?
Yeah.
And then he's there, like, you know, with, like, backlit, where you kind of see the shadow, maybe a little bit of mist for some weird reason, you know?
Hair blowing in the wind.
Yeah,
He's got
hair
Kenny
blowing.
G hair.
He doesn't have a shirt on, but he has a vest on, and his vest is just kind of, like, blowing in the wind, you know?
Yeah. No shirt, a vest, a belt, no pants.
A belt.
Cowboy boots.
No pants. Cowboy boots. And then his name should be like something like Donnie. Something where like when she says it, you know, like Donnie, you know?
Yeah. It's got
and then he like grabs her now, and they're heading back towards the car. And every time there's an alien, he's just like, you know, like hits the note like meow, you know?
Yeah.
You could just see the vibration, just the vibration of the saxophone as he hits it, you know?
Yeah.
He's got this rare ability to hit this one note on the saxophone.
Yeah.
And that's what makes... And now he's like the hero of the story.
Yeah. And maybe it lands him a record deal. Where it's just like, this melody saved the planet. And it's like, everybody wants to buy that. Like, where it's just like, this is the song that saved the planet. It's the best single in the world.
Yeah. Like now it's like everyone would, you know... He could just, like, the Rolling Stones are up there playing a song. They're like, we're going to bring Donnie on. Everyone's like, yeah, Donnie, you know? Donnie comes up like, yeah, like, just, they, like, write a song.
Note.
They write a song so that Donnie can hit his, like, you know? And everyone's like, yeah, you know? And, like, it'd be great because they could be all, and there can be, like, one alien in the crowd. That's just, like, that's kind of, like, passive, you know? And it just, like, falls over. What... This would not be a good movie, though, right?
It's totally watchable. I would watch it. I think it depends on the genre.
Yeah.
So if it is kind of like, I mean, I don't even know what I would compare it to.
Army of Darkness?
It would have to be kind of like, yes, that is exactly right. It would have to be like an action horror comedy.
Yeah.
And in the vein of like Army of Darkness. And it would be that could be like a cult classic right there.
Yeah.
It's just like Donnie and his saxophone, and he's just like wiping out aliens with this resonance frequency that's like similar to some tone from their ship.
Yeah.
And because they're undead, it just like, you know.
Yeah. Well, Shaun of the
knocks
Dead.
them out.
Now I'm thinking of Shaun of the Dead too, where Shaun of the Dead, they actually play it pretty straight in Shaun of the Dead.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And, it's difficult. I think it's a little bit easier to do that, to do a comedy where you're playing it straight. But typically, I think it works better, too.
Yeah. It does. I think that it would have to be played straight.
Yeah.
Like, it couldn't be some, like, goofy... Like, we realize that this is a comedy, and we realize that this is a horrible idea, because then it would really be a bad movie.
Yeah.
Like, it would have to be played dead serious.
Yeah.
So, yeah, maybe, like, Shaun of the Dead might be more the way that you lean rather than like Army of Darkness.
Yeah. The cool thing about
Army of Darkness,
yeah.
I feel like Army of Darkness could get away with it because like the monsters were still actually kind of scary looking. You know?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like, dude, this is actually kind of terrifying, but it's like it's hysterical. But this, yeah, like we'd need to like make sure that production value is high and that it's being played very straight.
Yeah. The cool thing about Shaun of the Dead is that the kind of like theme of the story, like leading into the zombies, feels like he's living a zombie-like existence. You know, like it mirrors what's going to be happening later on. Yeah. And I'm like, so I'm trying to think like, how does this mirror the fact that there's alien zombies crashing into the planet about to take over? You know, like, is there a way of actually having him mirror that? Or like kind of like your first 15, 20 minutes before it really ramps up and you're like, this is a alien zombie movie where now we're dealing with this thing, you know?
Yeah.
You feel like there's something out of this world and kind of a dead end about what his existence and what he's doing.
I mean, maybe if we made him a good musician, but he's not famous, he's not recognized.
Yeah.
Then it could be kind of like the vultures of the music industry that are kind of like coming in and like telling him he's not worth anything and telling him that he's terrible, but still like kind of taking his music.
Yeah.
You know, like they're kind of the invaders that are just like,
like
they're coming in and screwing everything up because they're not creatives.
Yeah.
Like they're not actually producing anything. They're just kind of, you know, like taking the life out of the music.
Yeah. So he would be, so the story would get changed where he's more of a like studio musician.
Yeah.
Where he's actually very good, but
he's like trying to get recognition.
Yeah. And
he's getting,
then he'll, you know, like, they'll be like, all right, we need like a saxophone part here. And he'll like do it, improvise the whole thing, like write that whole section. But then he doesn't get writing credit. Like he'll get his check. He'll get his check and it'll be like less than he thought he was going to get.
Yeah.
Or like less than they said, you know?
Yeah.
And he's just like, what is this? And like, we got a gig for you next week. Take it or leave it. Because there's nothing he can do about it, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
And he's just like, and his girlfriend's like, you know, manager at Kinko's, you know?
Yeah.
And he's just like, I don't want to do that though. Like I'm a good musician. I'm just not. Yeah. I'm getting kind of like, I'm not getting recognized as the hero that I am in the studio. Right. And these guys are coming in, these invaders are just like basically stealing my stuff and ruining everything around me, you know? Yeah. Yeah. Then when the alien comes, now it's like, now he can use his talents. And now everyone has to recognize it because he's the guy actually saving their lives.
Yeah.
And now
his talent is so big, it's so high caliber that it like supersedes.
What do you do? Do you have a scene where that same guy who kind of like screwed him over, where there's a zombie
the guy
coming
from the Lost Boys?
No. The guy who screwed him over, in the record deal guy who screwed him over, who like shorted him on the check, and didn't give him writing credit. Where now there's zombies coming after this guy, you know? Yeah. And he's like, help, you know? And then he's just like, kind of like,
no.
Yeah, like maybe he could play a note like bam, like and direct it. Now he's gotten kind of good at it. He directs it, like hits a zombie down, boom, you know? Yeah. And he's like, come on, like, you know, it's like, Donnie, come on, you know, what are you doing? Do it for the old country. I don't know why everybody all of a sudden turns into a mafioso.
He does it. They both die. He's like, huh, they were both zombies. Something.
Yeah.
It's back to the bad script again.
Do you have him save the guy or do you have him not save the guy?
I mean, I think that he has to save the guy. I don't know how satisfying it would be. Like, I think that's kind of the juggling act you have to play with those scenes is like, it has to be satisfying. Mm-hmm. If he lets him die, then it's like, the guy really needed to have deserved it, you know? And otherwise Donnie's not likable anymore.
The way you can do it, to have the guy not survive and still have Donnie be likable, is Donnie comes in and he's kind of like, I don't want to save this guy, you know? Yeah, yeah. But then he starts doing his thing to save the guy. Then he hears a scream
Okay.
you know? And he looks, and it's the guy's wife, and there's a pack going for the wife.
Ah.
And the guy's like, Donnie, I know I don't deserve it, Donnie, but like, you know.
Yeah.
And they kind of both understand. And then Donnie will say, you know, something like, you know, something back to him. Something that the guy said, like, hey, here's your money. Donnie's like, you shortchanged me. He's like, it's better than you deserved, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
And Donnie can go back to him and be like, it's better than you deserved, you know? But they both understand, like, okay, you're gonna do me, you're gonna do me this solid, like, I get, I'm gonna, you know, I'm gonna get it. And then the guy gets it, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
And then Donnie ends up saving the wife,
Yeah.
you know?
There's another way that he could end up not surviving and it still not be Donnie's fault.
Okay.
Is that Donnie just doesn't have his saxophone on him.
Oh, yeah.
So, like, if he has it in the room and then, like, the guy goes in and, like, he's in the room with the saxophone and he's, like, getting cornered, then it's, like, Donnie's, like, on the outside and he's, like, play the saxophone. He's, like, trying to get the guy to, like, and he's, like, like, the guy's trying.
There's, like, an extra dude. Donnie pulls a trombone off of the wall. He's, like, trying to hit the note with the trombone.
Yeah.
You know?
Man, that could be an emotional scene.
Yeah, very emotional scene. He's got the flute, the Kenny G flute thing. I can't hit it with this instrument. You can have a scene with Kenny G trying to hit it, and the aliens just grab him because he can't hit the notes.
Just rip his hair off.
Yeah, just his hair flying in the air. Yeah, I think it could be. I would say it would be. You could definitely make it a fun movie.
Yeah.
That's like fun to watch, and people enjoy watching it and kind of having a good time and laughing and you know, going through the gamut of emotions.
Could be a cult classic, I think.
Yeah.
In no time. Donnie and his saxophone.